Hi guys, my name is Jason Chen. Welcome to my YouTube channel, What I'm Reading, and today I'm going to tell you about this book that came out February 2021, so not too long ago. We Run the Tides by Vendela Vida. I'll tell you a little story about how I decided to read this book. I was at this bookstore in Brooklyn called Unnameable Books, a bookstore I really like. And I'm digging through their new releases, trying to look for something to review, right? And I open up a lot of the books that are new releases, and I'm like, gosh, what is this crap that we publish in the market these days? So I'm going to name you a couple books I thought just were so tedious, at least on a cursory first read of a good number of pages. I'm going to name you some books that I thought were so tedious that I didn't think they'd even be worth reviewing. So here we go. 3 books that I picked up, then I dropped. It's like, God, what is this shit? Okay, Homo Irrealis by Andre Osman, My Year Abroad by Chong Ray Lee, and Outlawed by Anna North. I mean, you guys can read those books if you want to. I really don't want to, unless someone I don't know, straps me to a chair and puts a gun to my head and asks me to read one of those books. I guess I would. You'll probably agree with me, though. They're quite boring. And then I pick up, after this frustration of oh, freaking books these days, they suck. I pick up this one book called We Run the Tides by Vendela Vida. And I open it up, and the first thing I notice is that it's about San Francisco. And something about the fact that it's about San Francisco just starts to call to me, because I used to live in the Bay Area. I lived in Berkeley for a while, and then I moved to Oakland, so it's a place I know very well. So I thought, hey, maybe the story would at least matter to me more because I know the place. If you hear honks outside, it's because I live in, part of Brooklyn where a lot of noise happens at night. So I decided on this book. I decided to read a book that at least has a place that matters to me because I thought that I'd be a little more invested in the story. So We Run the Tides. It's about this girl, her name's Eulaby, and it's just about, in many ways, it's this very vapid story. It's just about her adolescence, her experience of puberty while living in a very wealthy part of San Francisco. Her dad sells antiques as an auctioneer, and her friends and they all go to this really fancy private school called Sprague's. One of those two. Once again, I'm trying to do this in one take, so sometimes details are kind of fuzzy to me. And mainly, it's about her friendship and rivalry with this very beautiful girl at their school called Maria Fabiola. And she has very lyrical descriptions of how beautiful Maria Fabiola is. And the narrator will even talk to us about this big stack of bracelets, stack of silver bracelets that Maria Fabiola wears, and when she walks, they clink together and they ring, and even the ringing sounds like such melodic music to everyone around Maria. And so, it's that drama that a lot of American girls experience when they're growing up. They like boys that start allying themselves with other pretty girls to attract the boys, but in creating those alliances, you start to feel jealous of the other pretty girls you ally with. And the book jacket will tell you that there's this mystery, there's a disappearance. And yes, that happens, but the book jacket's actually quite misleading. They're just trying to sell you this novel to read at the airport or wherever you are when you pick up this book. The mystery, the disappearance is actually not that important to what the book is trying to say. The book is actually about girlhood. And it's about the struggle to feel confident in yourself as a young American girl. So this video for me is harder than the last two because the first book I reviewed, Milk Blood, he clearly sucked. Second book I reviewed, What We Talk About When We Talk About Love by Raymond Carver. Clearly awesome. Raymond Carver, member of the American pantheon of short story writers. This book is a little more in between. It's like this. You know, it's actually well written. There are moments of quite meticulously crafted prose. The main character, Eulaby, is a character who's very alive. I like all these moments where she reveals her vulnerabilities, you know. She talks about, once again, her jealousies. She talks about how alone she feels sometimes when she gets ostracized by her girl group, which weirdly happens to every American girl. Don't you feel like that happens to every American girl? Every American girl I know is like, oh yeah, I used to be really cool with these three chicks, but then there was a boy, and now I just eat by myself at lunch, sometimes in the bathroom. You know, this whole Mean Girls narrative. Why does that happen to every American girl? I don't understand, but this book confirms that apparently it's a phenomenon, particularly in America. So I like Eulaby. She's very honest about all these flaws and all these problems she has, and she's smart, very smart. She reminds me of how smart young American girls can be. She's very witty, funny, caustically sarcastic sometimes, but that makes me like her more. She has wit. There's this part to me that's memorably witty about her. She's in this like room with a bunch of detectives, and they're like, has any man made you uncomfortable recently? And she's like, well, honestly, I'm uncomfortable like all the time. And they're like, really? And she's like, yeah, like I'm literally uncomfortable right now. And I don't know what it is. It's just this ability to be honest about the awkwardness in a room. That made me like her. I keep talking about things I like about this book. So this is conflicting for me, this review. I like it. One more thing I want to mention that I like is that it has a very rich picture of San Francisco. If you want to learn about San Francisco, you should read this book. Particularly about the rich neighborhood Seacliff. You know, that has that view of the Golden Gate Bridge. It's near Lands, and very beautiful part of San Francisco. If you want to learn about it, read this book. The first chapter just goes on and on about all the kinds of people who live there, all the stories that exist within this small neighborhood. And she talks about how this famous star lives there, this historical character used to live there. There's quite a lot of geographical knowledge contained in this book. That's one more thing I want to mention about it before I start talking about the problems I have with it. It's just quite vapid. At the beginning, it fools you into thinking it's going to be this high literary narrative, kind of in the lineage of Edith Wharton's works. She even has this quote by Edith Wharton at the very beginning of the novel. What do you call this? Is it an epigram, epigraph? I don't know. I always get that confused. But anyway, so she wants to hint to you that this is going to be high literary stuff. And the very few chapters at the beginning do meet that expectation. It's very richly written prose. Once again, there's this moment in the beginning, or several moments, where she describes the music that resounds from Maria Fabiola's bracelets, and something about that quite captures me. The way that moments in, Mrs. Dalloway or Ethan Frome capture me. But then Vendela Vida picks up a plot. She no longer is just describing a girl's life and describing a neighborhood. She has to start making actions happen to make this book somewhat entertaining for a modern audience who can't just stick around for Edith Wharton-esque descriptions. Once the plot picks up, she starts to experience this problem that a lot of writers I know have, because it's just, whenever I read friends who try to write, they have this problem where at the very beginning, it's very easy to write very beautiful prose because you don't have to manage a moving picture. Just everything is very still. Then as the plot happens, more things go in a more chaotic direction, and it's hard to organize a vivid depiction of all that chaos of the plot. And so the prose and the depth just get worse and worse. And at one point, the writer is just, typing up something more like a movie script than a novel, just. And then he walked. And then I was surprised. And then the twist, stuff that reads no more like an attempt to create a rich painting. Stuff that reads just like the author's merely interested in telling you what happens next. Sorry, I pronounce my words unclearly sometimes in this video, but I refuse to do more than one take. I want to do more than one take. I find it more fun to do just one take. So her mastery over the novel starts to fall apart as the plot picks up. And I don't want to spoil too much for you, but at the very end, this novelist doesn't know what to do anymore, and then a lot of time flashes forward, and suddenly there's this like Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants bullshit where some of the main characters are older and they're in this like vacation part of Mediterranean Europe, and there's like pools and there's like pool boys who lust after them, and it's crummy. Gosh, so well written, and as an airport read, it's fine. So it depends on what you're looking for. Because, I'll tell you the truth, even though I was dissing the prose was good enough where I kept reading. Actually, I finished it in one day. I was quite excited to, because at least there's some kind of plot that was moving me. I was just so interested in learning more about Eulaby, the main character, Eulaby's, all this petty girl drama in her life. It was just interesting enough to keep reading. But is it more than that? Not really, I really want a book that changed my life, that makes me happier as a human being, that saves me from, wanting to jump off a bridge because of how miserable the world is. I want books like that. That's my high standard. But I think you have to live with high standards, and you especially have to have high standards when reading books because they're quite large investments of time. I want Kafka. I want Hemingway. I want Sylvia Plath. I want these authors who understand me so deeply that after I finish reading one of their novels, I go out and I make a resolution to, work at homeless kitchens more, or to call my parents more often. I want a book that makes me do things like that. This book's not that kind of book. It's just this woman who must have gotten really good grades in her composition classes in college. This woman who writes very good prose, who writes this very vapid novel about girl drama. And I mean, it's entertaining. We all know it's entertaining because we all like to watch Mean Girls, and we watch it a lot. Some people I know have watched that movie 50 times. This book is basically a novel attempt at Mean Girls. Is it? So that type of drama is entertaining enough to be a movie. Is it entertaining enough in a in a spiritual way? Does it move us enough to be a novel? No. Gosh, so you've heard my description. If you're looking for the airport read, pick this one up. You'll flip through it, and your airplane flight thing, your flight will move more quickly. Are you looking for something that is actually meaningful? If yes, then this book is a no. I always hate being so judgmental, but it's just we don't have that much time on this earth. We have to read books that mean something, you know? Gosh, this book is so vapid. That's my review. I guess I do that thing right now where I'm supposed to say like, oh, like, comment, subscribe, and that was it. If you have any recommendations for what I should review next, you should let me know. Leave your thoughts in the comments, and my next review is going to be a review of a collection of novellas recently translated into English by Roberto Bolaño. It's going to be my first time reading Roberto Bolaño, so I'm quite excited. See you later. Bye-bye.